Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So, today I want to talk to you about adaptations. So, I'm using Macbeth as my example. So, the image you see that you clicked on is a play that was done in Texas, and it was about a modern version of Macbeth. And it's a female Macbeth called Imani Macbeth. And pardon me, not Macbeth, Othello. Pardon me. So many adaptations in my brain, it adapted and messed me up. Imani Othello. So it's taken Othello and it's put it into modern day. And they did this in Texas and it did very well. Very good piece. Now, I'm not sure what's happening to it now, whether you can do it. I believe you can, and I'm going to link everything in the description. But I think that people like Othello and they are interested in the story. And the sad truth is that a lot of those problems in Othello are still problems today. So, and that is a lot of what she has to deal with. So, an adaptation can be fascinating. I know that a lot of people roll their eyes at adaptations. So, but a modern take on a classic story can be fascinating. If they like the classical piece, they will like the adaptation if it's done well. So I would check out this piece. Also, the adaptations of Macbeth I've been seeing have been amazing, amazing. Now, there is Shakespeare's Play On. Play On was a series that was created by the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, where playwrights that, when I worked there, that we knew, playwrights that we were familiar with, they took everything in the Shakespeare canon play-wise and adapted it. That's 36 plays. Adapted it into modern language and possibly modern day, depending on the piece. Play On has a presence kind of everywhere, and some people are very angry at it, which is too bad. But when you are working in a large theater, which I've worked in several, there are equal number of letters saying this piece is archaic. I don't want to see a museum piece. There's a lot of people when you're like, why don't you see Shakespeare plays? I don't want to see a museum piece. So you modernize your Shakespeare, and they're like, well, they're in modern clothes, but they're still speaking archaic forms of language. They're still speaking in archaic sentences. Okay, so this project was to modernize and make adaptations of these pieces. Still very good stories. Othello, Imani Othello, wonderful. Really worked. Macbeth, modern Macbeth. The stories are fantastic. The adaptations, some can tank, some can really get messed up. Many are very popular. If you've seen Clueless, the movie from the 90s, it is just Emma from Jane Austen. It's the same basic story. Sometimes adaptations don't work, they go too far. They're trying to stick too much to the original story as far as like everything that happens in the original happens in the adaptation. No. Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. A lot of some of the characters are removed. There's two Bingley sisters in reality. Now there's only one, Caroline. That really works. Some of the situations are rearranged in the story. The through line of that, Pride and Prejudice, it really works as a movie. It's wonderful. It's often called the dirty hem Pride and Prejudice. So they're not in precious clothing where they never get dirty and they change all the time. They're tromping around in boots and they have dirty hems. It was interesting. Okay, they're not quite poor, but they're not really rich enough to have new clothes and change 3 times a day. That was interesting. That was nice. It depends on the pieces you want to adapt or find. There's a lot of adaptations out there. I really like the adaptations of Macbeth that I've seen. Oftentimes, it is just you can see the basic idea of the adaptation was about style. I've seen Macbeth as a comedy where everybody in Macbeth was super goth. And I mean like teenager Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice goth. Where it's a lot about the fashion and um, it was really, really good. I've seen a telenovela version of Macbeth, which I also thought was really entertaining because there is so much in Macbeth that is just so overdone. And telenovela, by its very nature, is just, it's so like, It's just so big, and you really can pull it off with that. I've seen a Macbeth where it was very Halloween oriented. It was much more about being spooky. The witches spent a lot more time on stage. They don't have more lines. They're just sort of silently commenting on the proceedings. Sometimes they come in and play a character, especially during the banquet. Sometimes they bring Banquo in during the banquet, and there's a big back and forth of like, can Macbeth see them? What's going on here? But very ghoulish Halloween, taken very seriously, but adaptation as far as like the style and the amount of lines, very cut down, which I agree with because I'm not sure how they could have sustained that piece for the full length of the play. They didn't cut it in half. They cut maybe a quarter out of it, which was interesting. You have to do that carefully. So doing your own adaptations, if you're not experienced, is a little dangerous. You must have a dramaturg. Looking for adaptations that are out there of classical pieces can really work. The name already sells. The word adaptation and the way you advertise it will really sell as well. This is the funniest, spookiest Macbeth you've ever seen. This is Othello in modern day with a female Othello. I'm already interested. That's interesting. This is a ghoulish, poltergeist style Macbeth. That's interesting. This is a Pride and Prejudice done in modern day. Okay. This is whatever you want to do. So I think if you stick in Shakespeare and you adapt those kind of things, it could really work. See what you think. There'll be a lot of different adaptations in the description, and maybe that'll work for you. I'm just trying to encourage you to try experimentation to keep your audiences coming to the theater. So the trotting out the same old play that maybe you did 5 years ago or 10 years ago and thinking, oh, it sold well then. Well, there was a lot more money being thrown around for entertainment and luxury items, even though the theater isn't a luxury item, but these days with the economy in different countries, it could be considered that. And you want them to come back to your theater for every show, and you want to be interesting. And maybe they like classical stories with a twist, and that's always sold for you. And you advertise this, and it really works. And you can get patrons coming back to your cultural hub of a theater that presents them with different ideas and different twists on things. Okay, see what you think. And everything's in the description. We'll talk again. Hopefully your theater is doing well and you're selling ticket after ticket and they're coming to every show. I'm hoping that for you. All right, we'll talk again. Bye.